Hey everybody, welcome back to the Delivery Driver Pit Stop. My name is Michael, aka Big Daddy Wags, and as I mentioned on my last episode, my last video, that I would be coming back with some important videos in the future. This is probably one of the most important videos for Grubhub drivers out there I've done in the last year. I'm going to steal a line from Pete from Paid to Drive. I like to put, it's my job, I think, to put more money in your pocket. Thanks, Pete. And this video, hopefully, will help you do that. And it's the great debate of whether Premier status driver or Premier driver status on Grubhub is worth it in 2021. Now, let me go back a little. When I first started Grubhub over 2 years ago, I was a Premier driver and I was lost. I was lost in the ether. I thought Premier driver was the way to go, and I used to bag on cherry pickers hardcore. I made videos about cherry pickers and how I didn't like them, and boy, did I receive a lot of hate. And I took that stance because I didn't have all the facts, and as a lot of you know, as time went by, I changed my opinion, and I thought the only way to make money on DoorDash or anybody else on Grubhub, for this video Grubhub, is cherry pick. And I did videos on how to cherry pick, and so I did a 180 flip-a-roo on it. But unfortunately, first impressions stick with people forever, and I had a lot of people after I took cherry pickers to task never tuned in again, which, to this day I regret. But hopefully I will make amends, and I will have new fans, maybe some old fans returning after this video. So what I'm going to attempt to do, what I actually will do, is tell you if Premier driver status is worth it as of September 2021, in the middle of our pandemic. As I mentioned in my last video, I was doing an experiment where I was going to take every single friggin' call, regardless of how obnoxious it was, how bad it was, to get Premier status, and then stick with it to see if it's worth it. Just to prove that I was Premier, that I am, well, to this day, I am Premier status, but when the new rankings come out on Monday, I won't be Premier anymore, so that should give you a hint. Here's a screenshot as of either September 20th or September 21st. You can see the date up top where I am Premier status. I take 100% of the deliveries, or 100% of the pings. Every single one I've taken. And just a little sneak preview, I was only able to handle it for just about a month. Yes, it was that bad. Grubhub was my bread and butter, like many other people in my area. When I stopped doing Grubhub about a year ago due to me needing to take a break for health reasons and the pandemic, Grubhub was outstanding for me. It was superior to DoorDash in every way. And I made that known, and a lot of DoorDash people didn't like me for it. So anyway, maybe I'll change everybody's mind today. On the breakdown, for 2 years before I did this, you have your delivery fees, and below that you have your tips. I always had more tips than delivery fees every single time, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 times in over a year and a half. This time, as I'm back, not one time were tips greater than my delivery fees. So much so that delivery fees on a normal, consistent basis was 2 to 3 times higher than my tips. And it was bewildering to me because all the calls I've taken, all the pings, I call them calls, but all the deliveries I've taken, I was at a loss of how many people. I would say 70% of people now do not tip on Grubhub. and I'm bewildered by it. And the other 30% were either $1 or $2 or $4. And I don't understand. I was at a loss why it was always 1, 2, or 4. It never made sense to me. It was never higher than that. And probably out of all the deliveries I've taken, maybe 3 were over $15. Out of all the deliveries I've taken, only 2 deliveries out of probably 50 or, no, actually more, 60, 65 deliveries I've done, only 2 had a tip of $10 or more. So I was wondering what the heck is happening, because people are ordering just as much food, but the tips aren't there. So something is wacky in the ether. And I was trying to figure out what was going on. My final straw before I really started investigating it was I had a $163 sushi order that I had to deliver to the wine. We have some wineries in my area, Temecula Wineries, which is pretty famous in the U.S. A lot of different wineries in Temecula, where one of my areas are. There are a lot of wineries up there. And it was $163 to a winery up there, a very prestigious winery. I'm not going to say who it is, but get up there. It's a 40-minute round trip because it's a long drive, you know. I get up there. I can tell it was like $12. I'm thinking maybe because it's, $12 because of the trip, that's what the mileage plus the base fee was. Maybe they're going to give me cash up there. I get up there, deliver it. Big Easter egg. So $163 sushi order and 40 plus minute round trip to get back into town, into one of the hot spots, and I got a 0 tip. That pretty much was the straw that broke the camel's back. So I decided to investigate it. Again, wondering why no tips. It was just bizarre to me. I mean, or $1 tips. So that night I came home. I fired up Grubhub and I did a mock order. I don't know I'm going to show you the mock order. I put a whole bunch of goodies in there, ton of goodies. It was over $100+ and here you can see on the screen is the amount, and look below. Remember I said it was either $1, $2, $3, or $4 tips. 1, 2, 3, 4, or custom. For that much money. So I did another one for half that price. 1, 2, 3, 4. So no matter what amount of money a Grubhub customer orders and pays, the tips do not move. It's not a sliding scale for Grubhub. So it does not matter how much money they order. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, or custom. And again, when you see as a customer 1, 2, 3, 4, naturally a customer is going to put the cheapest tip, unless that customer has been in the field before or understand how we get paid. Then you can hit custom and put the custom tip you want. So that was shocking to me because it did not move. It did not scale like I thought it would. More money, the higher the tips will start off. Nope. And if you look above, thanks to, we're in California, so if you look above, thanks to Proposition 22, even though it didn't pass, we still had fallout from Proposition 22 where a lot of things changed. If you look above, that little writing there says, if you want to add an additional optional tip to the driver, I don't know what it's in front, but for the optional tip to add to the driver's fees. So basically, that's 2 whammies. Now you're telling the customer you can give an optional tip, which a lot of people like to hear because optional means, I don't have to tip. Now you got the $1, $2 tip, regardless of the price. And if you see that little I with a round circle in it, if you click that in California, it might be other states, but you click that in California, it's another pop-up window, which I'm going to show you here, to tell you that tips are optional on top of the standard delivery fee that drivers get. So with all this information, majority of customers that are using Grubhub have no clue about how badly we get paid and how they think tips are optional. They think that we're getting paid good enough that tips are optional. But in the long run, tips, no trip. No tip, no trip. Remember that one? That was my little hashtag that I still have. So as the saying goes, for people that supported Proposition 22 here in California because they thought they were being treated unfair, you reap what you sow, and you have to be careful what you wish for, because this is the fallout from Proposition 22. Again, that didn't pass, but this is what we get. All-time crappy tips. I've never had tips so bad in my entire life. It's basically on half the days I didn't even make enough money to cover the cost of my gasoline to fill up. That's how bad it was. A majority of the orders were single digits, meaning they were $9 or below. Very few were $10 or above. Very few. I mean, maybe 10%. So I wanted to see if DoorDash does this, because I have to be fair. So what I did, immediately after I did the experiment with Grubhub, I went over to DoorDash and I did a mock order, which I didn't place the order, but I put it all the way into the checkout. I placed a mock order for Applebee's for a crap ton of money. And here's the order. Now look at that. Look at the tips on that. DoorDash has hit it out of the park with this. They are far superior now than Grubhub with tipping. It's a sliding scale DoorDash does for tips now for drivers. So in the long run, as of right now, Grubhub is screwing the pooch and DoorDash is hitting it out of the park. And that's why DoorDash has the majority of the market over Grubhub. I'm going to put both of these screenshots side by side so you can see the stark difference between tipping between these two apps. Now, I'm going to say that I'll play a devil's advocate for a minute. Grubhub needs to make money, so does DoorDash. DoorDash makes it far clearer that tips are important to drivers. Grubhub does absolutely nothing to promote their drivers getting good tips. From the $1, $2, $3, $4 non-sliding scale, regardless of how much you get paid for the, how much the customer is paying for the order, to the twice optional driver tip screen that comes up when you're about to pay. It is ridiculous. It is unfair. Grubhub should do a better job at making it clear to the customer that bigger tips are important. Now, I was talking to Pete from Paid to Drive about this, and my theory is, now I've traveled overseas, and in America, tips are a thing. Overseas, tips aren't looked at the same way as they are looked at in America, because majority of the time, people overseas are getting paid more. They're getting paid more per hour, the employees, because they're getting better pay, so they don't have to supplement their income with tips. Here in America, it's a different story. So my theory, and this is just my theory, since Grubhub was bought out by a foreign company, and in this particular foreign company's home land, I'm not going to say, tips are not frowned upon, but they're not given. So what I think they're doing, they're paying it forward, and they're taking their theory on tips and instituting it into the app. And thus why the tips are so terrible. It could be that the customers, number one, the customers are misinformed. I was talking to someone and they said, we were talking about tips, and they were confused. They said, well, what are all the fees that Grubhub is charging us for? Aren't those going to you? No, they're not. I told her, no, they are not. She was shocked. So one, Grubhub, no sliding scale on the tips. Number two, customers can be just tightwads and don't want to tip, be, a-holes. Or number three, the customers are misinformed, thinking that all the delivery fees and all the extra fees that Grubhub tacks on to an order are going to the driver. And they are not. So as of today, I am no longer going to bust my butt to be a Premier driver. It is clearly not worth it. Now, I understand some people need to be Premier drivers because they have a family and they need to work a specific schedule. And when you're a Premier driver, they give you two perks right now. First perk is you get to choose your schedule on Thursday at 10:10 a.m. or 10:10 a.m. I think. So you're first to choose your schedule. And second, they have a new fancy thing called set availability, where you click on it and you can schedule your what you want to work a week ahead of time. So let me show you that screen here. And then here's the screen. You can bubble in what you want and hit save. And then the next week, when you look at your schedule, the ones you bubbled in are going to be what you're working. So it's very convenient for people that have to work a set schedule. But, I almost forgot. They say, which is, I'm going to tell you it's a fallacy because I just know this, that you have first access to big orders or catering orders. That is true if you are on the catering team. There is a catering team that Grubhub doesn't tell you about that you have to get invited to in order to get catering orders. So if you're not on the catering team, that is just another selling point to be Premier. That is not true. Okay? So there's three things. Catering order, set availability. You can set your availability and you can pick early. But they they are far, what you make is far worse than the three benefits that you get. Anybody that's a Premier driver that's just being a Premier driver for shits and giggles and are taking these orders, these low ball orders, you are excusing the customer, you are excusing the company, and you are selling yourself short for these tips. You're allowing the company to send these crappy orders to people and allow them to take it with, taking it, getting punched right in the nose, and who cares what the tip they give you. So Premier drivers without an excellent reason, again, someone who has to have a set schedule, I understand you have to be a Premier driver, but those that are, it's optional as a Premier driver, you are directly at fault for people lowballing and the company not fixing this tip issue of the sliding scale depending on how much the checkout is. So as of today, I'm going back to the no tip, no trip, and you're going to have to excuse me for a minute. I know I'm going to probably shock people. I got a shirt specifically made for this video, so give me a minute. So I'm going to put it on. Now, I know I'm bald. Everybody's going to say, oh my God, look at the chrome dome. So here we go. I'm going to put the shirt on, and this is the motto I'm going to be living by. So everybody understands how bad Premier drivers are. And the only way to go in September 2021 is that. Right there, people. Cherry picker for life. I am a cherry picker. I am a proud cherry picker. And if you want to make any money in the Grubhub industry, in the Grubhub app, look at, let me first say, your mileage may vary depending on where you're at. You may be in a great market. But for the most part, Premier driver status is highway robbery, to the delivery driver. It's cheating the delivery driver. It's making an excuse so the customer can be cheap. It's making an excuse for the company to accept all those cheap orders. As long as they get paid, they don't care what you get. So I'm a cherry picker for life. That's it. Premier driver is not worth it. End of story. Period. Full stop, as the Brits say. Anyway, I've gone on for almost 20 minutes. I know this video is going to be thorough, but I've gone on 20 minutes telling you about how it's obviously not worth it. I thank you for tuning in. If you appreciate videos such as this, showing you how to make more money and not be taken advantage of by Grubhub, please give me a thumbs up. That's all I ask, a thumbs up. Please, if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, click on the little red subscribe button and then click the bell and all notifications. That way you will be notified when I release videos such as this. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, the 3 evils of social media. That is it for this week, or not this week. I'm going to be having more videos coming up in the future shortly. It will be more eye-opening about these companies and how you can make more money by listening to me. Anyway, I think that's it. You have a great Sunday out there. We will see you next time on the Delivery Driver Pit Stop. Bye-bye, y'all. Take care.